Today we're going to look at a game of S4 playing Brewmaster, who is a hero that has been quite underpowered for a while, but he's recently been getting buffed, and now people are getting back into the hero. See a lot of people playing a more carry style Brewmaster, with Brewmaster as a safe lane carry, but here in this game we're going to see an offlane Brewmaster from S4.
Lessons that cannot be unlearned.
Welcome to the Church of Obelisk. So Brewmaster has some abilities that make him good as more of a utility offlane type of hero. Ultimate, obviously, also just the Thunderclap and the Cinder Brew are more utility spells suited for an offlaner, or perhaps even a support, as we've seen sometimes in the past. But then he also has this drunken brawler ability, which actually boosts your damage by a ridiculous amount. It's actually so much DPS you get from this ability, and that's why it can also be played as a carry now. But in this game you're not going to see that. In this game it's going to be all about that utility offlane playstyle. And right away we see our pool support here getting run down, and they're going to get a first blood here on that Grimstroke, but Ricky also taking a ton of damage and he's also going to die. But of course it's a great trade for Ricky. And now S4 starting out just with a single set of tangos, throwing himself out more regen as you do. And he's going to run that courier in now, but he doesn't see the ogre here, and ogre is actually going to get the courier. He does deliver the regen, but of course it's always painful to lose a courier at the start. And ogre here starting with boots, that's why he was able to so easily chase down a courier. So trying to do some trading here, but of course trading against ogre is always difficult, even if it's an ogre that starts with boots first. So normally on Brewmaster these days you would skill Cinder Brew at the start, but S4 has gone for the more traditional Thunderclap here. The Cinder Brew is actually a really strong ability, especially at level 1. It does so much slow for so long. It's 24% slow for 8 seconds if it's ignited, and the way it works is you just need someone to do a single point of spell damage to that target, and then it gets ignited, which means it actually does damage and lasts for 3 seconds longer. So if it's not ignited, it doesn't do any damage, it only slows. So this is a very strong ability and it's a great value point, but we're going to see S4 actually skill up that ability, which is a bit atypical. Most players instead prefer to put at least one point in Drunken Brawler or even max out that ability first. But we're going to see S4 going just for a Thunderclap and Cinder Brew build. And you can see in this lane he's having a lot of trouble. He's had to use a lot of regen here, and this Troll Warlord so far is getting much more out of this lane. You can see he has more last hits, more denies, and just hasn't had to use as much regen. And of course the fact that Grimstroke died at the start doesn't help, nor does it help that he lost the courier. And laning against Troll Warlord is always a bit difficult. He's just a really strong laner, especially if you're a melee hero. But they're just going to do their best and try to get as many last hits as possible. And against this Ogre Troll Warlord lane, it's kind of difficult to be aggressive here. So they're just trying to play this a little bit passively and just try to get as much farm as possible, and then possibly punish overextensions if the enemy plays very aggressively. And Grimstroke here unfortunately doesn't have Stroke of Fate available, so he can't secure that range creep. So S4 has gone for a lot of regen items here. He's going for a Ring of Regen, which is later going to upgrade to a Soul Ring. And he also bought 3 mangoes, which of course help with the mana problems, but also provide a good amount of HP regen. It's actually 1.8 HP regen from those 3 mangoes, which is more than a Ring of Regen. And now there's a bit of fighting here. Ogre Magi is kind of out of mana, so they think they can fight here, and they're going to run him down and get stunned. There's still a clap available, and that is a nice clap here, and they get the kill. And now it's forced to run, and he hides behind that tree to get out of vision from that Troll Warlord, and Troll Warlord thinks he can commit here for the kill, but it turns out he can't, doesn't even get that kill, and dies to Brewmaster and the tower. So 2 kills here, one for S4 and one chat between the two of them. So even though they were losing this lane, now they're back in the game, and you can see Brewmaster is now almost caught up with the Troll Warlord. And with that money from that kill, he's bought himself Boots of Speed, and then he's also dropped some items for Grimstroke, Salve to be precise, which Grimstroke is going to deliver to him. So always when you support, or even if he's playing the support and it's your core who dies, just always drop items so that they can bring you items and you don't have to wait for that courier. And here Brewmaster being gone on again, but with all that slow coming out from Cinderbrew and Thunderclap, he managed to escape. So if you stack those two buildings together, you get so much slow. That's 28% slow, another 35% slow. That is so much slow and allows you to easily escape here. The position 4 Ricky has been missing for a while, but they still want to play aggressively here. And Brewmaster runs forward here. He gets off a nice Cinderbrew and Clap, but now with the Ricky joining in, Grimstroke dies before his Inkswell can pop, so that is just a straight up kill for the Dire. And now they're also trying to run down Brewmaster. Again, he's trying to get out of the slows, and he managed to do that, but still he's too low and they run him down. Ogre Magi is also going to die, but that is only small consolation. Now Grimstroke also running pretty far forward here, and Ricky's still around. Just going on to him again, and he tries to go up here to the Troll Warlord to stun him, but it doesn't work out. And he is also being run down here. Ricky gets the kill and now tries to escape and will be successful. But more rotations are coming in, Kling's comes in, and I'm not sure why S4 just went back there, but I guess he wants to get those hits. So S4 has just hit level 6, and so before we go into any further, we're going to pause here briefly and actually look at what the ultimate does and how we can use it best. So when you use your ultimate, all your brawlings will be selected automatically, and your Earth brawling will be in focus, and in its most basic, you just right click people and you toss boulders at them. And this is pretty good stun. It's a 2-second stun every 5 seconds, which is pretty good, and this is already reasonably effective, but of course we can do much better than that. So the second level of complexity is we do everything we did before, but then we also select our storm brawling and use it to toss one target into the air. You can do that twice during the duration of even level 1 ultimate. So this is already providing of extra utility, but of course we can do even better than that. And then the next step would be to also use our Windwalk. So using Windwalk, doing extra damage, tossing people up, still using our boulders, using Windwalk, doing extra damage, and you can use our Windwalk again, extra boulder, and this way we do a lot more damage. So another trick we can do is use our Windwalk, attack right away, and we're still invisible now, and then we do the bonus damage twice. You have to do the timing right though, so right now I didn't do it fast enough, and I got revealed, and it didn't get the double damage. So this is something that's not particularly important. It's more important to use the other spells properly, but if you want to go the extra mile and get all the efficiency out of your Storm Panda, this double attack thing is something you can do. Another cool thing you can do is you can dispel summons and illusions with your Storm Panda. This does 1,000 damage, so it's quite strong. It clears most illusions against heroes who are not super tanky. So if you're playing against heroes like Naga, Terrorblade, and so on, all these illusion heroes, it's enormously useful to use that dispel from your Storm Brawling. So back into the game, and let's actually slow things down and see what S4 is going to do. He uses both his abilities, and then he's going to use Primal Split, and because the troll water is slowed down so much, he can't escape here, and he's going to use his boulder. He's already used his windwalk. Boulder's coming up once again, and he can just go onto that ogre magi, and again using his windwalk off cooldown. He's not really doing this double attack trick, I think, but even so, he's getting out. Actually, he's doing it, so very nicely done here. And not that it matters it because ogre was dead anyway. So this double attack trick is something you can do if you've already mastered everything else about Brewmaster, but especially at the start, just focus on using your basic abilities. That double attack thing is quite difficult to actually pull off properly while not forgetting about anything else, because there's a lot of things you have to do in a very short time during that Brewmaster ultimate, because you have so many abilities and they have such short cooldowns. So it can be quite difficult, and it's quite useful just to go into demo mode and just practice all these combos a couple of times so that you can get some muscle memory down. With the Primal split down, the enemy think they can make a fight here, but Terrible shows up. He's level 8, he's very strong, using his meta, and they get a kill here, and Terrible is going to stick around. They of course want to push down this tower. It's a very important tower to get, and also a fairly easy tower to push. So yeah, going for this tower, and the Pokénaut comes in, tries to contest. There's no ultimate on Terrorblade, so he just has to run away here, uses a salve, going to hide in the trees, and he TP's out. Unfortunately, TPing to that shrine or outpost rather than the tier 2 tower. That's a bit of a mistake, got him a longer TP, but he managed to get out just fine. And now they're focusing on the Brewmaster, but this Pugna, he's not going to be able to outsack all that damage, so they get killing him too, and S4 survives. I talked about this at the start of the video. Recently a kind of carry style Brewmaster has cropped up, where you're playing a lot around your Drunken Brawler. You're typically going for first major item, either Desolator or Radiance, but S4 is not going to do that. So that build is really good about maximizing what you can do while you're not in ultimate form. But the build that S4 is going to go for is more of a utility build that focuses on maximizing what you can do during a Primal split, because the thing is that most items don't really do anything while your Primal splits it. Your damage items, so on, just don't do anything, but aura items still apply. The aura is still going to be placed around your Earth Bruling, and if that dies, it's around your Storm Bruling, and if that also dies, it's around the Fire Bruling. So you still have auras around you, so an aura item like Dominator is still going to apply. You're still going to get that bonus damage aura, and you're also of course still going to have that creep. So now you see him using his ultimate once again. He's going to whirl up the Medusa into the air. This cycle is very strong as a hero like Medusa, who does a decent amount of damage, but you don't really want to focus her in a fight. You generally want to focus other heroes and then leave Medusa for the rest. And that is precisely what Cyclone enables you to do. So they get a very successful fight here and don't lose anything. So aside from Dominator, of course, you can go for other aura items. Something like a drum works quite well. You can also, of course, go for Vlad. Gives you a lot of sustain. You don't really need that much HP sustain, because Brewmaster is a hero that, especially if you're leveling up Drunken Brawler, can do jungle camps and without really taking too much damage. But you're kind of hurting for mana, so that's why he's going for a Soul Ring here. And if you have a Soul Ring, you're also kind of low on HP regen, because Soul Ring of course costs HP. So that's why having an item like Dominator or Vlad can be quite useful here. That just provides you some extra HP regen to be able to actually afford a Soul Ring. Although of course if you go for Vlad, maybe you don't necessarily need a Soul Ring, because Vlad of course also gives you a good amount of mana regen, which is a big boon for that item. but just in general, Brewmaster, he has 4 active abilities that all cost mana, and with all that heavy drinking he doesn't have a very high int gain, so it's quite useful to have a Soul Ring just to get some extra mana and be able to be guaranteed to actually get off all your spells without running out of mana. So, S4 now has his Dominator, he gets an Alpha Wolf here, and heads straight into the Roshan Pit. They just got a kill on Ricky, and Ogre Magi wanders into the area, gets killed. So now there's 2 people down, and with that Dominator and the Alpha Wolf, you just provide so much extra damage to this Terrorblade. So Terrorblade is the hero that has a lot of base damage because he goes for all these stat items. He has a huge anti gain himself, and then he also gets extra base damage with his Metamorphosis. So even though these percentage based bonus damage auras don't apply to illusions, they are still great for the main Terrorblade, so it's a really good item to have here in this game. It's not the greatest for Klings because he relies a lot on bonus damage from the Death Pact damage that he gets those charges when he kills people, and the Searing Arrow damage, and the Desert he is gone for. But it's still a nice bonus for him, and also just for your hero yourself, it's quite nice to have that extra bonus damage. Of course, also gives bonus damage to your Brewlings, and of course also boosts the damage you do with your Drunken Brawler. So normally after one aura item like Dominator or Vlad's, typically going to go for Blink Dagger. Blink Dagger is quite important. It's not an item you want to rush, but it's an item you're going to get in the mid game definitely. It's going to help you a lot with positioning and with mobility. Another fight breaks out here, and he has to use his ultimate to survive, but it's not quite easy to get anything. But with the rest of this team arriving, you can venture deep here, and they're going to find this Ricky, who is in the wrong neighborhood, and with Terrorblade is really farmed. They can win this fight, and Brewmaster, of course, still running in here with his Drunken Brawler. Even though the one makes you quite tanky, still 50% evasion, and now they can just wait out this Troll Warlord and then get the kill. Also trying for the Ogre Magi, and there's another kill. So in this game, just have all the cores here on the Radiant team doing really well. This Terrorblade is incredibly farmed. Kling is just getting kill after kill, like he's 11-1. This Terrorblade is 5-1, and S4 is 7-2. So all cores here doing really well. And now with that Blink Dagger flying out on the courier, S4 is next going to go for a Vlad's, another of course very strong aura item. And just having Vlad's and Dominator together just gives you so much sustain. And S4 just finds out that Cinderbrew does not actually aggro creeps. So most abilities aggro creeps, but Cinderbrew is an exception. So that's something to keep in mind when you're playing Brewmaster. He jumps into Ricky here. I'm not sure what the plan is here. I don't think he's ever going to get that kill, but he nevertheless tries for that. And now he's kind of in trouble because he's all on his own and has to be quite careful with enemies coming in. But he's waiting for Bane to arrive, and he tries to make some sort of play, but Troll Warlord is also in the neighborhood, and not much is going to happen here. But with extra reinforcements arriving, they can turn this into a fight, because of course the Radiant team right now is just a lot stronger than the enemy team. They just have this fairly greedy lineup with Troll Warlord and Medusa, which is even greedier than this Terrorblade lineup. And often we just have like one hard carry. You can kind of outscale 2 hard carries because you just get more farm, because you're not splitting the farm as much. And then just have 1 hard carry and like 2 cores that sort of support you. That's often a better mixture. And now of course you see this Terrorblade just shooting through this tower with his illusions and with the bonus damage he gets from S4. That 20% from Dominator and 30% from an Alpha Wolf is a lot of damage. So now they're going to try to go high ground. They're going quite deep into this Medusa, and especially with this tower being Bloodlust here. It's actually quite difficult to fight here. They're not that strong yet. He's also not doing the best micro with his Alpha Wolf. The Alpha Wolf really should be staying back here somewhere and not running into here. He's just going to feed this and not accomplish very much with it. His ultimate runs out, not really having gotten anything here, and so they have to run back. Terrorblade is useless meta, but he gets bursted down, doesn't get off a Sunder, so now this is turned into a rout and it just has to retreat, and yeah, he also loses the Wolf here, he dies, and that was just a complete disaster, and now the game is basically reset. The net worth difference down to less than 1k now. Roche just respawned, so they're straight back into the Roshan pit. S4 scouting with a centaur at the top of the hill here. A very important thing to do. You don't want a centaur in here in the pit. It's not going to contribute very much in terms of damage. Much more useful to have him out here. And they claim the Aegis without any contest. It's of course very difficult because it goes so quickly with all these auras and just Terrorblade being so farmed and Klinks being so farmed with the Desolates and so on. It's very difficult to contest. So they have the Aegis, they have the cheese, and now they're ready to go back for more. Nice stomp here landed from S4, and now he can go in and use his ultimate, and of course throwing the Medusa into the air. She was Lotus Orb, so this Storm Panda also is thrown up, but it's not too bad. And Pugna trying to suck his way to a happy end, but he's just going to be thrown into the air here with the second cast of the Cyclone, and not the best Centaur micro here. After getting a very nice stomp, Centaur's just been sitting here and is eventually going to die here. But S4 is moving on to bigger and better things. He gets the Pugna with his Blink Dagger. Centaur now unfortunately dying, but that's okay. They're going to get these Raxes. They're on to the second lane of Raxes, and Medusa TP's back in here. He's not quite fully healed. Gets hit here, of course, with Terrorblade's reflection, which is very strong against Medusa. And as in this stage of the fight, you just want to stay back a little bit, use your Cinder Brew, and then jump in with your dagger that's in cooldown, and he just runs back again. This is not a particularly farmed Brewmaster, even though he's done well in the fight. He doesn't have the most farm, so he's not particularly tanky. He just wants to get in there, use his Cinder Brew and his Thunderclap with his dagger, and then just sort of get back a little bit. He doesn't want to tank all the damage. So now they can just claim all those Raxes, and now the game is basically over. So this has been my first game of Brewmaster, more in this sort of offlane role. I'm probably going to make a follow-up video on this new style of Brewmaster, the carry style with Desolator and all that good stuff. That's probably going to be coming up in like a couple of days. And before I'm signing off, I just want to include a personal note for 12-7 that yes, you're stupid for going Aghanims on Brewmaster. It's actually not a terrible item, but just usually the better items. And if you've enjoyed this game, please give the video a thumbs up and tell your friends about this channel, subscribe and ring the bell, and all is willing, I'll see you next time.